Welcome! I pressed the wrong button and I'm live. I want to still to do a little bit of settings, but here we go. Well, welcome to part, I think 18 of the Poor Man's Core XY. And this will be the last part of this project. Um, yeah, so hi there, Mr. DDSI, hi there, Mr. Kastad. So, basically, it kind of failed. I mean, you could have seen it coming from a while. So I just wanted to make like a last stream, like kind of like disassembling it, going over the project, what didn't go so well. I think like overall, I mean, it doesn't quite work, but I would still call it a success because I learned a lot, and I think we all had a bit of fun dabbling around with this machine. Hi there, Steve. Welcome. So this guy was a bit in the way, but guess we have to live with that. Yeah, so let's kind of dive in. I mean, the machine is printing, as you can see, and it looks a bit different than what you've last seen. I think half a year ago, no, a bit more, like maybe like almost like 3/4 year ago was the last time we worked on this machine. And let me maybe just like quickly go over what changed since then. So obviously we have this like very, maybe also like bring the camera down that we get a little side view here. Um, so what obviously changed is that we now have 1, 2, 3 lead screws. That's one change. I'll explain in a second why that is. And besides that, these blocks, the Y blocks here, have been extremely expanded. Like they're a lot wider, and instead of one bearing, they now have two. So that's also something we changed in an attempt to fix up the machine. And you also see like here's like a bit glue residue. Like I glued these inner and outer parts together just to make it a bit more stiff. Besides that, I think, yeah, I mean, these are the biggest changes, to be honest. We also have some changes here in the XY carriage. Not XY carriage, an X carriage. Also here, instead of like one bearing, we now have two bearings in the front and one bearing in the back. It was all basically just to make it more stable. Hi, Fatih. Welcome. So yeah, I mean, you can see it's printing. The main problem why I don't want to continue with this machine anymore is that it's not printing well. So it kind of is in a state where it's working, but like the print quality is not really there. So we have could have been smart and I grabbed some of the sample prints. Give me a second. Let me quickly grab like sample prints. I could have prepared that, but I hid it under the table. So this is kind of like my chaotic project box for this machine. Here. And these are just a bunch of the prints. So let me just like, I mean, you see I changed a lot. Now I have some older parts here. And let me go to the floor. So you're just like, again, like last week already somebody complained about the volume, but I'm not sure what it is because on my side the mic is like on max. Um, Not sure. Steve also said last week it's fine. Let me see if I can give it a little bit of a boost. Not sure if it's now better. Yeah, now it's definitely up. Now it should be better, right? I think now also the it picks up a lot of more noise. Yeah, it was like on minimum on the operating system sound preference. But let me see. It is on voice isolation. Do you hear like a lot of background noise now, or is it still okay? Okay. Well, then these are kind of like a couple of prints. And on this, like on the surface, they look okay. Some are better, some are worse. Okay, you're separate. Well, that's part of the show, right? Or just zoom in here. So on the surface, they kind of look okay. But they all have. I'm not even sure if I can get this like on video and camera now. They all have like very fine like surface effects. You can see here, like the surface is not clean. Like it has like a certain ripple to it. Now you can see it quite well. And this is like one of the best cubes I ever got. Like kind of like the quality went up and down as I like changed stuff. These were quite good. Oh, okay. I threw all the stuff on the floor, and the cat is enjoying the new toys. So it was one of the better ones. But if you look at this one, for example, this was like more the average. Like here you can see very clearly like that you have this like ripple pattern. If they see it here especially. And it goes all around. And I don't know. You can also see here like there's like clearly stacking issues. And I'm not sure what to do about that. So I was like trying like a lot of different things. And I'm not really sure what the problem is to this day. Like these were like one of the first ones. Also, mind you, like these are printed, like the clean ones are printed hyper slow. Like by hyper slow, I mean like really slow, like 200 acceleration slow. So acceleration is definitely part of the problem. So I think this is like more an example of like a normal one where like you have, I mean, white is not the best color to show this, but you have very clear like issues here and here. Also here, like it's very rough. Yeah, on the things like on the video camera, I think it's harder to show actually defects. But I posted pictures on Discord, and I think here, for example, like I think this is like one of the more worst sides. Yeah, it's like it's hard to show, to be honest. But here, like now, you see it a bit from the angle, right? It's like very uneven. Yeah, like I also saw it. Like YouTube now gives XPs for posting, so collect XP. So yeah, these are like all kind of like quite rough, I would say. Also here, like from the cylinder, it's all showing the same, like it's a little bit like a wood grain pattern, but very inconsistent. So my theory, what happens here is that while you're printing, because the frame is not very stiff, like I think what happens is that it just like wiggles a little bit, and because the bed is a little bit detached from the XY, this causes these like small layer shifts. That's my theory. I tried to confirm that also. I bought this tool here, and what I did, I kind of like just used like a clamp to put it here, and I tried to measure, for example, like how the bed would move, or like also in a vertical, but also like an XY. And I also have videos on that about that on the Discord. And with higher acceleration, there was definitely like a lot of like movement in the system. You could see that every time, especially before we had the lead screws, that we had belts. And what you could see is like if you point the probe over here. If you point the probe on the bed like this, so I mounted it here, and I kind of like pointed it like more like this, basically. Every time the printhead made a move in X, Y, and stopped, you could see the bed was like wiggling up and down and then settling in place. So basically, like the jerk, basically. Yeah, I think it's called the jerk of the printhead caused Z wobble. And with the lead screws, this was gone mostly, but still the quality is not good. So I'm really not sure. Hello, everyone. So yeah, you also see now it's printing really slow. So these are the settings I'm using at the moment. This looks like what I ended up with. So this is like a 500 acceleration. So it's really slow. It was just like all in the attempt of getting this like motion out of the system. Like not necessarily by improving the printer, but just like by trying to make it make the problem disappear to see like if this increases the print quality. Yeah, but it clearly did not work. Also here a couple of iterations on these. So what I worked on most was the XY joint and the X carriage in the center. So this was the original design I had here. So you see here, it's like a little like groove here where one bearing is put in. And then this is basically closed together like this. The problem with this design was, and it was basically what we had in the beginning. I didn't play enough with him. He's a little bit too active now. So with this design, like with one bearing, we had a lot of wiggle. So basically when imagine this would be the X and the Y rod, there was a lot of wiggle like around the axis like this. So what I did then was I revamped this design. So firstly, from the two parts, I made one. And now we have like space for two linear bearings in here. So it's basically twice as deep. And with this, like this movement was a lot less. So this was like helping a lot. I did the same on the X carriage here, where in the beginning we had only one bearing, basically one front, one back. And now we have two on front and one on back. To also like reduce this like rocking motion around the y-axis basically. What I also did is like these parts are still two, and I had the issue that basically when you were like putting force on a tool head like this part here would dip down basically. So the tool head would rotate around the x-axis. Also was like suspicion that this caused the problem. So with this longer joint here, I also glued that together here to really make it rock solid. And like the tool head, if I put more like pressure on it down, it moves less on the V0 that I have. So I think it's definitely not a problem. So I think it's mostly just like the rigidity of the frame is not high enough. I'm not 100% sure why that is. Because there are also other printers, for example, the Rook, that use a very similar setup where they have like, the Rook has, I think also 4 of these smooth rods basically on the vertical, like same as we have. I think they use slightly bigger ones, like we use 8mm, they use 10. But it's not unheard of to use this like setup, and the Rook doesn't have these issues. So I mean, things I could, if I would continue the project, if I would do, would be to redesign the bottom parts here. Because here on top, the rod is completely sunken in, like it basically goes all the way through the part. But here on the bottom, it only goes in like very little. So I think this might be part of the problem here, this anchoring. Where's the next quest? Quest is 15-minute Banshee live on stream. I don't know. Like, it's a bit weird to have these like little like thingies there now. I'm not sure if we can like turn this off or not. No, I can't. I can only turn off reactions, but that's it. Nothing else turned off, no. Yeah, but it's kind of like the state now. Um, I mean, overall, it works. It's just like not working well. That's the main problem. Like another suspicion I have, what could cause problem, is just like the XY's motion system. Like generally, I think the XY is quite okay. But like when I move the tool head by hand, I have very distinct like clicks from the belts. And I don't have it like that on other machines. So that kind of like gives me a little bit like a feeling that could be like a potential issue. Another thing I noticed is also like that the linear bearings I have, and I also replaced them at some point. They don't glide very smoothly. Like also from the bearings, I get a little bit of like click feeling when the ball like rotates. So I'm also not 100% sure if the bearings are okay. Um, so I have dreams are fragile. Welcome. When I was being on my printer stuck at the wiring stage, but you're almost done. Like if you're at wiring, like it's like 95% there. What printer are you building again? Remind me. You also on the 2.4 formwork kit, if I recall correctly. But yeah, you're almost there. Keep going. So yeah, so that is pretty much the status. Maybe like another thing while we wait for the cube to finish here to discuss a bit is this definitely started out as something extremely different than it turned out now to be, right? So in the beginning, if you look at the first stream I did on this, it was more like a joke in a certain sense because like we used these like very tiny 5-volt steppers or wanted to use, and I wanted to make it like really cheap. Which also meant that we couldn't buy like or use like a lot of the hardware that you usually would use for a machine like this. For example, the bearings we use now here are standard bearings, same motion system basically as on the V0. We used printed ones at the beginning, which I mean they worked, but they obviously wore out extremely quickly. So basically, after like 2 prints, like they had like tons of play. But I mean, it worked. So that was kind of part of it. They also had like a super cheap tool hat and like everything like just like very cheap. And like a lot of like printed stuff. We also printed the linear bearings and everything was printed. So I think this project had a fair bit of scope creep because as I saw that like the initial things we did kind of worked, and it didn't work perfectly because we used kind of spare parts. Kind of my ambition grew to like kind of make it just a nicer printer and like make it like something really usable. But I think that didn't quite turn out that way. uh, this is exactly what I'm trying to do. Well, what are you trying to do? Like making like a printer from scratch like this? Yeah, I think like another thing that really like hampered this project is that all the parts, like designing these parts is really difficult. The main reason is that like we only use these like rods here, so everything can rotate. That definitely doesn't help with the stiffness. If you have square parts, they don't rotate obviously, which makes it like a lot harder or like a lot easier to build. Plus, like if you have attachments, like it's always very difficult. Like if you have like things like these that need to attach, if you just have like aluminum extrusion, like a standard 2020 or something, it's very easy to A, build a rigid frame because you have like a rigid aluminum frame. And B, also you can just like use hammerhead nuts and stuff. You just like attach stuff to the machine. So it's a lot easier. And I think this also kind of doomed this machine in a certain sense. Like this is extremely cheap because like these like not the motion ones, the ones that have motion are all like proper smooth rods by now. But these are just like aluminum rods basically from the hardware store. Makes it super cheap, but yeah, it just makes the construction very, very difficult in a certain sense. And I think it was also maybe, I mean, for the initial idea of making a super cheap machine, I think it's a good choice. But then if you want to build something more usable, yeah, it's a bit difficult because it just like makes all the parts more difficult to design. Honestly, I would probably be cheap to go with Google design like under 3NG instead of having to design everything and actually go through multiple iterations. Yeah, I think that's also something I can totally subscribe to. So if you do something like this, it's tons of work. I also underestimated quite a bit in the beginning and thought like, you know, we do it for like 6-8 weeks, like as a little bit of a joke. But it turns out to be really difficult. What I just described like makes it easier if you have like standard aluminum extrusions. I think you set yourself up for success in a certain sense. But even with that, it's quite difficult. I don't trust my cat sometimes. Like I see him planning a jump, and I'm like, ah, going to work. Sometimes it doesn't. So yeah, exactly. So this is also like mostly AliExpress stuff, right? Like these are all standard parts. Like the smooth rods are from AliExpress, the bearings are from AliExpress. It's not really a problem. Just be aware, like I don't know your background. I'm not an engineer. I'm a software engineer. This is a lot more work than you think, and you don't think of doing something and it works in the first try. So most things you see here went through 4, 5, 6 iterations, and they still don't work. So it's like I think I have like at least 10 generations of these XY joints here. So these parts, it might look easy, but it really is quite a journey to get done. If it works, it's amazing. Then you achieve something really nice. But yeah, I would be careful what you get into because it's kind of like a shame. I mean, for me now, it's kind of fine because like I had a lot of fun and I learned a lot with this machine. But still like a bit sad in a certain sense to like then kind of like scrap it and not do anything with it. Yeah, the Ender NG kits are also, yeah, it's a good option if you have an Ender especially. But there are also like other like fun little machines, for example, the Rook that you can build. And I think it's maybe also like what I want to do in the future is like to just take one of these projects and make like my own spin of that. Like just take something that kind of like the basis is there, but then like make like the second generation or something of that. That is also like a very smooth transition. So what do we do with these parts, right? So these are all good parts, and they all work. It's just like they don't work the way I put them together. So as soon as this cube is done, this is the final print of this machine. We will just take it apart. We just sort all the parts. I think, I'm not sure if I go through the hassle to recover all the heatset inserts. To be honest, I think that's not worth my time because there might be like 100 heatset inserts in there or something, potentially more. Getting them all out, getting them all out will take a fair bit of time, and I think I'm not up for that. So potentially just like all the printed parts, like the screws we definitely pull out. But the printed parts most likely I'll just trash. I will keep the final cube. This is like my little like trophy. And then we have a lot of printer parts, right? Like it's a complete printer, more or less. So the battery costs about the bed was like 30. Like I bought all the parts incredibly cheap. Like that was one thing I paid attention to a lot. Like everything I bought was cheap. um, so the bed is kind of like the central piece in a certain sense, right? This is a Crucia mini bed. So I was looking for what do we do with that, and my first thought was, you know, maybe we can build a Crucia mini with the parts. That would be kind of fun. I wanted to have Crucia mini like years ago. Like I was really close to buying one. So it would kind of be cool to have one after all. So I thought about that. But then I was like looking a little bit like what else can I do with the Crucia mini bed? And I ended up finding this machine here, which is called the Satsuma 180. And I am fairly certain, like let's say 95% sure, that I want to build this machine with the parts I have. Because like it looks really cool. Like it looks like a cool project. 1 second. Oh wow, Steve, thank you for the super chat. Thank you. I think you were the first to ever super chat. I wasn't aware this was a thing. Thank you. Um, that's why I'm making it cold bed with carbon fiber rods, and I'm currently stuck on the 3D printer head. Oh, so you're already designing it. Cool. Then I think it's like quite cool. I guess a cool project to make your own. I don't like the walking over my keyboard. He's way too active today. Patch into view and PLA. Yeah, then at least you don't need an enclosure. That also helps a lot. I kind of had plans on adding an enclosure here in like a second iteration, which I think would be cool, but also makes everything even more complicated. Cool. Yeah, so the printer on hand here. So I was kind of thinking of making this one. The parts are mostly what I already have. So there are some extra things I obviously have to buy. Specifically these like 10 millimeter smooth rods here. The lead screws I already have now, so it's a plus. The tool head is actually very similar to the parts I have now, so that's also a check. Mainboard, we can use what we have. Pi, we can use what we have. So I kind of made the AliExpress shopping cart for this, and it kind of totaled out to be like 150 euros in total. The most expensive part being the extrusions for the frame, because like this is built with 2020 extrusions. And yeah, that's the most expensive part. And then for me, also something I need to figure out was to do the panels, because like, we definitely need at least the back panel and the bottom panel. Might get back to Ravenkeeper maybe, if he can CNC cut them for me and ship them over. But yeah, so this is kind of like what this will most likely end up being. I'm going to use the Manta M4P board with onboard clipper. I'm debating whether to make it Core XY or Basslinger because price. The M4P is a really cool board. I have the same in the Switchwire. The main question for Core XY or Basslinger is I'm not even sure if it makes that much of a price difference, to be honest. I think for Core XY, you most likely end up needing a little bit more belt. But besides that, like the parts are pretty much the same. It's just like how you arrange them, right? Technically, let's say like for the cheap bed slingers, if you look at the Ender or something, like you still have like the V wheels or something. You can make a Core XY with V wheels. That totally works. It's like not typically what people do, but you can do it. You can remix it with what you have. Yeah, technically I could, but like I still definitely need quite some parts. Like the extrusions for sure. I mean, if I remix it without extrusions, it's like a new machine. But besides that, like it's really not a lot I need. Like the extrusions and the panels, and that's really what makes it expensive. For everything else, I have most of the things here. Like yeah, the rest I really have here. It's like it's the extrusion, the panels, and then the 10 mm smooth rods. And technically, I still have to figure it out. So the Satsuma uses like the same bed, but also uses the aluminum undercarriage that Prusa gives with the Prusa Mini. I don't have that. I only have the bed. I don't have the undercarriage. So I'm debating with myself if I buy the undercarriage from Prusa, it's like 25 or 30 euros, or if I 3D print it, or if we remix the parts of it. So yeah, something like this. Um, let's see how that goes. I'm looking for the devil. Like he's trying to get up my kitchen counter, and he knows he's not allowed there. I'm also trying to make a Bamboo Lab copy, and if it's good, I might turn it into a business. What do you mean by Bamboo Lab copy? Like a Bamboo Lab printer copy, or like? I assume that's what you mean, like to copy the design of the machine. Oh, you can do that. Cool. Let's see, how long does this still take? It should be almost done, right? 4 minutes, okay. I think if you make like a Bamboo Lab lookalike, you could find some potential buyers. I think a lot of people are very drawn to like the very sleek, clean design. Would be better off with the BTT Manta E3 Easy. We'll have the CB1 with canvas on board. Yeah, I think that's a big downside actually of the Manta M4Ps. It doesn't come with onboard canvas, which is something I figured out after I got the board, which kind of sucked. Because the M5P and M8P, they have onboard canvas, but the M4P does not. Makes it quite a bad buy, to be honest. Like, if anything, and if you have space, that's kind of also the thing, I would go with the M5P. It's a bit bigger. It's not that much more expensive. You don't need to populate all 5 steppers, but then you have the onboard canvas. +1, this is what I use on my M3NG. Yeah, I think it's a really cool board. Man, you're really on drugs today. Last stream, he just slept the entire time. I preferred that. Now he's like in chaos devil mode. Also, if you're trying to make a cheap printer, think about reducing your build volume as much as possible. Yeah, it really adds up. Like, it doesn't really seem like adding build volume makes it a lot more expensive. But like all these like extra parts you need, like it really adds up. Yeah, you are. I think it also really helps like if you have like a smaller build size. There are a lot of like bags like this on AliExpress. Especially, it might even be like if you really want to make a cheaper machine, like I would stick with the Ender bed because they're so plentiful on AliExpress. And there's so many of these Ender beds. It's absolute no-brainer. You know, for example, the Prusa mini beds. You get them on AliExpress, but there are not too many sellers of that. But if you have the Ender bat, they're like millions. I think in general, like like all the Ender 3 parts, you get incredibly cheap. Like something like this is the Ender 3 heat spool. You get this for like €1. So yeah, it's really like all the Ender parts are super, super, super cheap. Emphasize the word Orca versus Fusion. Well, they're very different things. I don't think you can compare. Like, Fusion is a 3D modeling software. It's not a slicer. I think it has some slice functionality, but like, you don't want to use that. And between Bamboo and Orca, it's the same, just that Orca is open source and ahead, I would say. So Orca and Fusion both together. I forgot the name of your new project, but one on Mildew 2020 solution, you can go all-wheel drive for max print speeds. You mean the printer I just showed? This one? You mean this one with the design? I mean, technically, like we could, but like my goal would be really just to build it as is for the start. So my idea is to build it V1.0 exactly as it is there on printables. And the project is a bit dead, to be honest. Like, it's very well documented in a certain sense, and there was a little bit of hype around that, like initially. But that kind of died down. So it has 1,700 downloads and like a lot of likes. But like in the last year or something. Oh, there was actually an update May 2025. I didn't see that. Something was updated. What was updated? Okay, I'll find out what was updated. But yeah, so basically it kind of died down. And I think it would be really cool for me to make like a V2 of this machine then later on with some improvements. For example, like it doesn't have a hat, so it would be cool to add like a hat. We can think of all-wheel drive or something like that. But yeah, for the first iteration, I just want to build it as is and see that it works well. I kind of like burnt my fingers on this machine a bit. Print is done, yeah. Bamboo P1S or Algo Centauri, someone new to hobby and in Asia, nothing is cheap here. Well, if you want to see it as a hobby, it's definitely the Elegoo. If you want to have a tool that you can just print with, I would go with the Bamboo. Because the Bamboo is a machine you cannot modify at all. It's just like, it is how it is. For the Elegoo, you will have a community with a lot of mods. If you want to play around with the machine, make it better, like build machines, then the Elegoo is, I think, the better pick. Also a lot cheaper. You can buy, I think, most likely 2 Elegoo for 1 P1S. Let's see the results. Yeah. I go to check. Let's move all this stuff over here. But yeah, this is kind of like the average print. I would definitely never mind the first layer. It was horribly off. Kind of fix it on the fly. Yeah, I hope it prints better than 4-man. Let's see. So I should have picked white as a filament color, but you can see here, like, there's also like a lot of like inconsistency with the layers. I don't know what it is. There's this one very thick layer. This is something I've seen on a lot of my prints with this machine. It's only on one side. It's only on the Y side here. You see here, it's a very, very thick line. And here it's not at all. Like, it's still like a very rough surface, but like it's not. And here's a little bit in that. So it looks like a little of like a layer shift for like a few layers. I have no clue. Like, I've seen this on a lot of things. It's kind of like reproducible, but yeah. Overall, like, I mean, it prints. This is functional, right? Like, you can print functional parts with this. They are dimensionally accurate. For the most part, I would say. It's just like they don't look nice. You think this is good? No, this is definitely not good. Maybe it looks better on video. Maybe this looks better on video than in reality, but this is not a good cube. I'm not sure if I have a. Here, this is the cube from the V0, I think. This was my reference. And it's like a very clean cube. Like there's no like surface texture. There's no like bad layers. Very nice overhangs. Tiny bit of ringing here. Not sure what happened there, but besides this, like a very clean print. If you put these next to each other, never mind that one is white, one is black. I mean, you can see very clearly that here's like the surface is like really rough, and here it's like not. So this is kind of like the goal I had, and this is not living up to that. This is the one I keep as my souvenir. It will live up here for now. And I would say let's just get to the bottom of this machine. Let me just rudely kill that. Does anyone want to see anything about this machine before I take it apart? Like a homing sequence or anything? Last chance. Still better than the Copper 2, yeah. Well, that might not be the gold standard in this case. Oh, also as a fun fact, because the mainboard only has 4 stepper drivers, like X, Y, or AB. These two are running on the same stepper, and this one is a separate stepper. So it's like one stepper drives these two lead screws here, and the other one drives this one. Well, okay. I mean, I also forgot to pull the filament out, most likely. Oh, so nice. Yep. Let me pull this out. And then we can start to dissect the machine. And yeah, I'll just make the executive decision that like all the printed parts, including the heatsink inserts, fly out because I really don't want to spend like an hour or more like peeling out all the heatsink inserts. It's just not worth my time and effort. So that's the trash bin. All the parts that we can't reuse will fly in there. So I didn't see any requests about like anything to show around the machine. So let's just get going. And I think the easiest is to first remove the umbilical cable, and then we can just move out the entire XY layer, basically. Oh, the white part is also printed on this machine like quite a while ago. So it can print functional parts, definitely. Like you also see like the bone tube fits, and it's like it's fine. It's like not a good part. Like it's not pretty, but wait, you said yes. What do you want to see? Quick. What do you want to see? You need to tell me. Homing. Okay. Then we have to quickly turn it on again. That's fine. So homing on this machine is a bit special, I would say. We have sensorless homing on XY, so that's nothing special. So we just home against the side here, and then we home towards the back. Before I had these like parts extended, this part here was basically added. So you can see the original ones were the original ones were like a lot shorter. So basically this part here would like dock into this like empty space in the back here. This can already go here. For that, it's a bit special in a way that we need to trim the bed. So what I do here, and that used to be a little bit different because before we added the lead screws, kind of like as a hack job, we had like a belted set. So we had, you still see this here, like we had a motor here and on the other side, and the motor was like connected with this belt loop here. Like this basically. So you had the motor sitting in the back here. And then there are two more pulleys here. One pulley would go straight up, have the belt here, and then the belt would be mounted here on this like corner part. And the other belt would go to the front and then up. And I removed them actually, but here was also like a bearing. And then you see here is like where the belt went through, and the belt was like clamped here in front. So basically we had two motors driving four belts. If you go to like earlier iterations of the stream, you can also see it in action. And I was actually also like a suspicion at some point that that was the issue, that because the belt on the back was running vertically and on the front it was running to the front and then vertically. The front belt was like twice as long as the back belt. And there was the suspicion that this causes like an imbalance. But yeah, wasn't the case. So what I do first for homing is I drive the bed completely down. The goal is basically to contact the corner pieces on all four corners. And I kind of force it down a bit. So I deliberately drive into that end stop position to trim the bed already there. So the homing sequence is... Oh. That did not work out well. Did I already break it? Did I forget to plug something in? No. Oh, that did not go well. What did it do now? I just unplugged the cable, I plugged it back in, right? Did I... Maybe if I swap these two, like it should not do the crazy shit. It's not on. The steppers are not on. The steppers are not on, so it's fine to unplug. Don't do that at all. No, the motor is all fine. Like both are plugged in. Not quite sure what's up now. Okay. Well, I think I can't show you the homing sequence. I don't know what happened now. I have no clue. Well, then you need to live with a verbal description. So you can also jump to the... No, I didn't show it. But yeah, so basically it homes down. Then it drives itself again down. It's just like a sensorless homing basically on that. When the bed is down, we move the tool head over to the side, and then there's a little probe here. Like you can see it here. There's this little probe. It's like magnetic sitting in the stock. So basically the tool head grabs this, and then we do like Z tilt adjust. So we probe on this side of the bed, and then we probe on this side of the bed. the clipper does it automatically if you configure the Z tilt adjust, and then we put the probe back. And at this point, we are homed, and the bed is like level in the basically like this level. So yeah, that's kind of the homing sequence. So it's not super special. But yeah, the keys for me, because I have only 2 motors, you need to trim the bed out during the homing. It's a bummer. Like, not sure what it did now. I hope none of the stepper drivers is blown or something. Oh, here we go. Okay. Then, so the 4 rods on the sides, they're very simply just clamped into these parts. So if we release the screws here a bit, we can basically just slide it off. E3 and G can dance on the floor. The Rook can also do that, right? The Rook can also dance. Or one version of the Rook. I'm not sure if all of them do that. And with this, like you can see, like it just like comes off. So that's the, and to be honest, like this is like not a bad design per se. I think you can use this as a plotter or something. Technically we can also just move the bed off. And let's disconnect all the cables here. Go see if I can make the VisiBot dance at 100K. I bet you can. I bet you can. How far along are you with the build? Well, also something I never did before was like working with servos. And we now have like the servo here for the probe. I think it was quite a cool like learning experience. Let's see. So, oh, maybe while we disassemble that. So one thing is like this is also not super stable. You can see like there's quite a lot of wiggle here. It kind of is okay with the 3D screws now because like gravity kind of pulls it down. You also see it's like not super center. That had to do a little bit with how I can position the parts. The problem was that like this was never designed to be supported on only 2 points. Because initially we had the design with the belts on all 4 corners. The bed itself didn't need to be super stiff because it was supported by the belts on all 4 corners. So it was only like now when we added the lead screws that this really became a problem. But you see also like we have here the ends are open. Because the bearings here are only supposed to hold it like basically in the XY direction. That's all these bearings were designed to do, just like to secure the motion on this plane. They were never supposed to like hold any weight. If you look at other printer designs that have a bed like this, for example, I think the Rook has something similar. They use the larger bearings here. And the reason is that if you have like more surface here on the bearing, the entire bed becomes stiffer because like the bearing is harder to like rotate around the rod. Let me see if I can. I'm gonna actually unplug all the stepper motors. I think we can just. But yeah, like these lead screws were just like something I kind of added at the end as like a potential fix. Because like the belt system is of course more complicated than the lead screws. So I just like doctored the lead screws on in like a Sunday afternoon. That was never really supposed to be. Also, the front one, I didn't even cut the size because I was like, yeah, maybe I need that for something else. I don't want to cut it. These two I had to cut because the XY motion system goes on top, of course. Yeah, and these LMU 8 bearings, I'm not sure. Like, technically, they work fine. I mean, especially on that, I have no problem. They're also reasonably tight. But we can look at them in the XY gantry. Let me also just going to use this flower pot to collect parts that we want to keep. And this is our little main board. And this is like a really cool board. I hope I didn't break like a stepper motor now in the last second. It's a really cool board. Like it's the Mellow Fly Micro 4. I'm actually not sure if they still sell it. Like I didn't see it on AliExpress anymore. It's a really sweet little board. Like it's basically smaller than a Pi. Has 4 stepper drivers. Has canvas included. This was super cheap. This was like 20 euros. So it's a very, very cheap board. Has a RP2040. Like technically it's all you need for a printer. Especially if you have a toolhead board, all you need. But what's your nickname in Epitron game? This is also like if you want to make a cheap printer, this is like a really really sweet board. Um, Depending what you need, this has everything the M4P has as well. It's just a lot smaller, and you can combine it with a CB1 standalone, for example. Then you have like for 35, 40 euros, like a complete set. Let's see if I can get this off here because it's taped down with VHB, and we all know and love VHB. Okay, I'll just leave it like this for now, and I'll just put it up here to be safe. Then I would say let's just first remove all the cables and the Pi. Let's get the Pi out of the way as well. Oh, yeah, Steve, the thing is, I don't create these streams like from scratch every time. I just reuse the previous settings of the same stream type. So I didn't do like a poor man's Y stream in a second. That is why there is no link. I still have to go through all the different streams and like edit. I think there's still some that are missing it. Here you go. Let me also quickly add it to the description if I can add that. Let me do it later. But yeah, that's the Discord link. You're welcome to join. Okay, then yeah, let's get all the wiring out of the way. Let's get the front motor out of the way because then we can just flip it over. But for front motor, we need to get the Pi out of the way. So let's get the Pi out of the danger zone. This is the machine I broke 2 SD cards in. Like it turns out, like it's really easy to snap a SD card while it's in the Pi. Oh, it's quite some pain. Let's also get the power supply out. This power supply is, I'm not sure if it's the power supply or the board, but something has like incredible coil whine. Like in idle, when the machine is not printing, this machine had like incredible coil whine. Like it was super annoying. I can upload the files for that. Like the files are just like an incredible mess at the moment because like I added so much like hacks to the machine, like the lead screws. Like they're super. I mean, I can upload the step files for sure. Um, if somebody wants to have fun with that, be my guest. For some reason, I used like O-rings here for everything, and not the normal fork thingies. I have to get out all the screws. Steve wants to build one, yeah. I mean, to be honest, like, it's a nice build. And maybe if somebody else looks at it, like having it like in person in front of them, they maybe find the issue. You know, it could also be like, it could be something like super stupid that I just like did wrong while assembling that. I mean, you know, or like I have a bad part somewhere. I don't know. Maybe there's a bad bearing or something, and I didn't notice. That is all possible. I just all dumped it in between. And I used a lot of zip ties here to like arrest all the cables. And this is actually quite a sweet cable. I keep that. So this is like a 24 volt to 5 volt adapter cable. It works quite well. So it's like a little tiny buck converter here in the middle. Might also be the reason for the coil line. Who knows? I will find out if I reuse it at some point. Okay, let's see if we can get this like awesomely out of here. This WheezyBot, then simple core, then T250. You have like still like a full pipeline, Steve. Did the T250 was it released yet? I didn't see that yet. What is the T250? It's not an HP printer, right? Aha, the successor to the world's fastest 3D printer. I see some all-wheel drive. That sounds like a Steve project. Please post on the Discord about that. Fully printed frame, yeah. That's nice. How much filament does it then take to print a frame? I assume it's quite a bunch. Oh, I have to put these screws back before we forget about them. The T100 worked very well. For example, the frame has flexibility on purpose and recommends HTPLA for an enclosed printer. Interesting. Okay, I think this one we can also kind of like, I mean, not necessarily keep, like I'll replace. Let's just, we can recrimp the cables. Let me see where I can collect all the screws, because I will also need to go through and sort them. This is our screw bin. We also had a parts bin. Goes here, and this goes in the trash. I'm not saying it's a bad printer, but it makes some very strong claims. I mean, that's how you sell stuff, right? Sell might also be like convince people to build it. Oh, well, that was not smart. Also here, this was like an incredible hack because like the motors here on the side, they were sitting, like if you look here, the nuts here were lower down than the nuts on front that I just like hacked on top. So when I was homing, like this nut was like kind of sucked down further. So I added this like spacer on top to make that work. By the way, also like this was the only time I used Polymaker PLA. The turquoise PLA here is Polymaker, and I'm not a fan. Like I'm not sure if it's me, like my print setting or something, but like the black PLA for the most part was the Form Futura Titan X, and it's much stronger than the Polymaker. I mean, again, it might be my print settings or something, but for me, like the Polymaker did not perform very well. I had problems with the overhangs, but also with layer adhesion. Like see Chris print try Delta stuff with it. Well, to be honest, I kind of would like to have a Delta, or like I would like to build a Delta. But I have no Delta experience, so I don't think I should build one or like design one. Polymaker adds a lot of additives to make it easy to print. I don't know, like for me, I mean it prints, but I was not very blown away by the strength or by the overhang performance. Yeah, let's collect the steppers also up here. So yeah, I don't know. Also, like the bed adhesion was not great. So it was really like very underwhelming filament. It's also like why I never like ordered it again. Like only ordered the turquoise. I still have one spool of Galaxy Black ASA, which I won at some point in some giveaway. But yeah, I didn't unpack that yet. Nice. So I already have it for like over a year. Complete new to 3D printing. Welcome, Jad. And just recently bought my first printer, but since you mentioned filaments, is there a good resource site that compares qualities? I'm not aware. I think the main problem is that depending where you live, different filaments will be available at different price points. So for example, I mean, I'm located in Europe and I'm relatively close to Form Futura. So for me, the Form Futura filaments are relatively cheap because I ordered directly at the manufacturer. And then I get a quite good price and it's like next day delivery. So that's like for me the one of the go-to solutions. But yeah, it really depends on where you live quite a lot. And then also depends what you want to do. So because like some people might prefer different filaments, or like some filaments. For example, like, for me, the polymaker filament doesn't work well. You will find plenty people that love it. So I'm not quite sure if there's like really like good way to measure like good filament in a certain sense. I mean, there's clearly bad filament, but then what makes a filament good might be very specific to you. So just try a couple of things. I would say way ordering filament in Amazon or something, because then you get usually like not as good filament, I would say. So maybe look at like 3D printing shops, what they sell, and then just try a couple, see what works for you. Yeah, it's a lot of community knowledge. The best filaments are the ones with the least additives in them. Yeah, I mean that's also a truth. But then like as Rivonic mentioned, like additives are added to make it easier to print. So if you have like a well-tuned printer, you might not care as much, but if somebody has like a less capable machine, like having more additives might be like a very good thing. Sunlu. The eSun PLA is, I think, or the eSun ABS is, I think, not recommended anymore because they kind of reduce the quality quite a lot. But Jad, where are you located? Like which continent? For Europe, I can give you some tips. For the US, I'm not sure what's available there. Located in Germany. Well, then you can look just dropping you a couple of brands that I used or I know that people use. You can look at Form Futura is an option. They are from the Netherlands, so they are relatively like closely located to you. You can order at Nobufill. Nobufill is from Austria. You can also directly order from their webpage. Let me just quickly. I'm not getting money from them, so. Form Futura I can recommend. I use their PLA mostly. You can also order 3Jake. That's kind of like okay webpage. Just know that if you order at the manufacturer directly, it's cheaper. So you can order it from Futura. That's not a webpage. I do my best here.com. So Form Futura is quite good. More on the pricey side, the PLA they have like also very cheap filaments. So I think they're very good PLA, and the Titan X is very good. Then you have Nobufill. I use their ABS. Very excellent ABS, like really excellent ABS. It's an Austrian company, also ships directly to Germany. 3D Jakes, also Austrian. Then you have Redline filament from Germany. That's quite a good address. They have massive amounts of colors, like insane amount of colors. Their ABS is quite good. Not my favorite. I didn't try the PLA yet, but I also heard very good things about the PLA. So it's also a good address. And then you have three that kind of like come off the top of my mind. There's also Filamentum. I didn't use them for a while. I remember it looks amazing, but it's a bit harder to print. Like getting like the print settings right was a bit iffy sometimes. But also like very beautiful. Oh, especially this one. Ooh, I remember this. I printed this quite a lot. Vertical Starlight, very beautiful color. Like it's like with like yeah, Starlight. Very beautiful color. So this is also like a good address. So these four I can recommend. And let's just like try it out. Like don't order like 50 spools, just order, you know, like some companies also sell samples. Redline, for example, I know sells samples. Just spend 20 euros and order like a bunch of samples and like different colors. And just see what you like and what prints well for you. And it's also like every machine, like if you, for example, like get the print settings from somebody, your machine is a bit different. So the optimal print settings for them might not be the optimal print settings for you. And then like also like some filaments just print better on your machine than on other machines, or like on other machines better than your machine. So it's really like a bit tinkering. What printer do you have? Sparkly, yeah. I mean, I have like a part here loose at the moment. No. Uh, I can't show it. Like the 2.4 I built here, that uses the Noble Fill Marble White PLA, which has like it's like white PLA, marble ABS, marble white ABS, and it's like white ABS and has black sparkles in it. It's really really beautiful. So it's also like sometimes some manufacturers just sell like specialty quote unquote filament, like where they have like a very specific color that nobody else sells or something. So it's also like sometimes just a selling point where like the filament isn't as good, but then like, you know, it's just like one beautiful color you really want. Oh yeah, like this is something with these parts here. Oh, okay. This part like broke so often, like I literally super glued this back in because I had to make new cuts here to like make space, and I'll never want to see this part again. So here, when I disassemble this, so you see like technically the rod can go this deep in, but it only goes in this deep. And I think this is a big part of the wobble here. That if this would go through completely, most likely you would have a lot less wobble. Because also like here on this layer, only this one and this rod kind of hold this in place, but the bottom ones don't have like a direct like impact on this rod. So I think this is like a big construction mistake. I was afraid to say I was warned not to buy it. Did anyways, thankfully not had any issues with it whatsoever. I went with the Anacubic Cobra S1 combo. Okay, I know a couple of people have that. Why was it war? Like, what's the thing that people warned about? Because there's also like a open source clipper firmware for that one. I remember. I also have a Cobra S1. See, very popular machine. Contour currently only source for actually strong PP since Prima seems to have stopped making theirs. Other PPs are much weaker. I never printed PP. I can't comment on that. I don't even think I have a machine that can print PP. But yeah, Futura does like a lot of like these industrial filaments. Um, so it's definitely like more like a high-end brand, I would say. Like a lot of other brands are more focused on the hobby market, doing like PLA and ABS on something. Patchy, but Form Futura really has like a lot of thing. Also, like a misconception, like a lot of people, like when I built this, like think that all the rods were hollow. I swapped to solid rods at some point. There's still some hollow ones, but the better part of these rods are all solid. I was wondering about Anycube because the fare rate seemed to be quite high. I doubled down and bought a supposedly refurbished model, was brand new, and it cost way less. I took the gamble. Well, it's sometimes gambles pay off, sometimes you pay extra. But to be honest, like I feel like it's a machine where you could potentially repair it yourself. I don't think it's open source per se, but it's not as close as a Bamboo Lab machine, for example. Are you making a video on it? Making a video on what? What's new? The firmware flashed straightforward. I'm brand new, so I still have it off. Oh, the policies were what drove me away from the A1 as I was looking at it initially. Yeah, and it's quite a bummer, especially also like that they rolled out the same firmware for the A series as they previously rolled on X series. For most users, it doesn't matter. But yeah, I also just like from a like point of principle, I really don't like it. Friend of mine was also looking at buying a Bamboo Lab machine, but he's big into Home Assistant. And with the new firmware, like he just doesn't trust that he can like long term use the machine with Home Assistant, so he didn't end up buying one. Very easy. Making a 3D printer on a YouTube channel. Well, we attempted that. That's the rest of it. This is like it didn't quite work out. Like you can go back to the beginning of the stream. I went a little bit over the problems, but in the end, like the print quality was not as good as it should have been. So I kind of like pulled the plug on this project. Potentially we will make a new one at some point. But then the new design. This one did not. This one did not work out. Will we find if BTT do roll out clipper replacement boards? This would be so cool. I wonder how difficult this is. I know there are some projects out there that try to do that, but I think they also want to reuse the main board. I'm not quite sure how especially on the A1, I don't think they have a toolhead board or something. So it can't be that difficult to like reuse all the components, right? Because like, yeah, it's a Bamboo Lab, but a 3D printer is a 3D printer. Like it's all the same parts. I print PP for metal roofing tools. Oh, amazing. But I have since started to experiment with hard TPU because it's so hard to find good PP. Hard TPU. So you mean like this kind of hard TPU? Because I think I've ever only saw it as flexible for 3D printing. But I'm also not sure like what makes TPU like the flexible TPU flexible. I assume it's some additive or something. It is a bit sad taking the machine apart. Let's see. I think this one is just. Ah, wait, we can take the screw out here on the back. It was a bit of a puzzle, like putting this together. There we go. Oh yeah, this was also something we changed at some point. Like these are now proper metal 80 tooth gears. In the beginning, we had the printed ones, and it was like the thinking was that the printed ones were not precise enough and causing wobble on Z. So we replaced them with like proper 8 tooth gears, but did not make any difference. I think overall, like I'm not I'm quite proud of the design. I think it looked cool. It's just a shame that it didn't work as well. KX on a 77D and 64 TPU. Okay, it sounds quite hard. No, it definitely was not a poor man's sprint in the end. Like, I mean, it's what I mentioned in the beginning. Like, there was a fair bit of scope creep, right? Like, we started out with a very different mission than what we had in the end. Like, in the end, and I really think what happened there was like that like initially I saw the machine working okay. Like, for what I expected, it was working better than expected. And then I was just like, okay, if it works this well, let's just, throw in a couple more like good parts and make it like a really nice machine. But then this was kind of like, yeah, scope creep. It's a real thing. Like scope creep is a thing that happens. And I think if we would have stuck with the initial mission using the 5-volt steppers and everything, I think we would have had. I'm not sure. Like I think it would have been like similar amounts of effort, and then like we would have been no chance of having like a capable machine at the end. Now at least we had the possibility of a capable machine. But yeah. Did you design everything from scratch or did you build on top of something else? No, this was completely from scratch. Like this is a completely unique design. It's quite a stupid design to be honest, because I designed everything around these rods. So in the beginning, like we really wanted to have like a super cheap machine, like a sub 100 euro machine, which means it's not like a very capable machine because like let's be honest, like for 100 euros you don't get a lot of good parts. So we used like 3D printed bearings and like everything. And the basic idea was to use these aluminum rods. Like these are just in a hardware store. You get them as a meter for like 2 euros. And the idea was to use these rods, these aluminum rods, as like the frame. Which I mean, like we kind of did in the end, right? Like these are all like we swapped the ones that have motion on them. We swapped to like steel rods later on because of the dimensions. But these like aluminum rods are super cheap, and I I still think they're stiff enough. Like this is not the problem. I'm fairly certain. Um, but it makes it very hard to design. Because like the rods, obviously, like everything rotates around the rod. And if you have two rods and you have it fixed on two sides, like it's still like it twists, and it makes it very difficult. So you always need at least like 3 connections to have something that doesn't really twist that easy. Yeah. And if you use like standard aluminum extrusions, it's so much easier to build like a solid frame. I think it's also like it's really like it's a big part why this machine didn't work out. If I used like a different frame, but I'm also not sure what I could have used that is so cheap because aluminum extrusion gets expensive if you use it like a lot. Technically, you can print the entire frame, but it's also like not really an option. Um, no, that I'm okay. Hi there, Rush. I'm getting to the end of my 1.2.4 R2 build. I'm thinking on putting the camera in the cable chain. What's your advice? Um, I kind of burned out a bit on working on the 2.4. I'm fully honest. Like we worked on this thing quite a bit. That's why I'm like doing all the other things at the moment. I want to get back to that next week and want to install a camera. Um, what I have, and I sourced that already, is I used this one. I used the Happy Cam. So the Happy Cam is quite nice. Like it's like this very long board, and you just put it on the front, and it's just like sitting like basically here on top. And like it comes together quite easily, and it uses these OV5640 boards. Let me quickly, because the one I have works, I can quickly give you the one. Give me a second, I'll quickly pull up the one I bought. Maybe you have a camera already. In this case, just ignore me. My orders. Here, this one is the one I got. So this is the board. So it's like 5 megapixel autofocus camera. I didn't turn it on yet, so I can't tell you if it's good or not, but this is the board I got. So it's like these OV5640 camera modules. They all have the same layout. Just double check that you have the 2 screw holes here and like the 2 screw holes there. So that's what I have. And I think that's quite a good setup. Could just grind down the edges to get a flat surface and put a screw to stabilize the rods. I played around with this in the beginning, Nappen. But yeah, it also didn't quite work. But yeah, technically you can of course like drill through. Then you don't have the rotation issue. But to be honest, like with how I have it now here, it's also like it's very hard for the parts to rotate. Like this is relatively, as I stated, like it's very easy to rotate because some screws are not screwed in. But yeah, you see the main issue here already, like a little bit. Like this is like not super stiff. But right now, like none of the rods really rotate. I really wondered like why it's not this, because usually it's not this unstable. Oh, because the screws are not in here. Okay, that makes sense. But like the rotation is like I clamped them really hard. That was my solution. Like the clamping force on these rods is quite extreme. We also had to like experiment quite a bit with certain parts on the print orientation. Like what print orientation is the strongest so we can have more force on the rods. Just put the camera on frame. Yeah, exactly. Like really, just put it on front here, have it facing down, you will be golden. OV5640 is a decent camera. There's also smaller webcams with the same camera module. Yeah, I think it's the camera module is quite common actually. I'm fairly certain that I used the camera module before in a different format. Yeah, it's not considered anywhere, so you can get death wobble. Yeah, it's yeah. I think the main thing is just like the frame was not stiff enough. But then if I add now like if I now make the frame stiffer, like it's completely going off the original design in a certain sense. So yeah, I think I'd rather make a new design. It's like design a new machine at some point, not using rods, but something more rigid. Potentially just like standard aluminum extrusions. I also saw somebody said plywood. Yeah, Steve, old school plywood frame. I also thought that maybe not plywood, but like thick MDF. Just have like 2 thick or like sides. Like I actually thought about that at some point. If I just like like just clamp like an MDF sheet on the side here, just like an MDF sheet covering the side, and just fix it to like all 4 corners. It would make it like that stable. I tried that actually. I didn't use MDF. I used like wood cutting boards, put them on the side, and used like the quick release clamps, but also didn't make a difference. potentially was not enough. But yeah, MDF would be also like a very cheap frame material. But then you have to cut it, which would be quite difficult. I mean, you can ask the hardware store to cut it for you, but then it's not super precise. But it would also be like an option to just have an MDF frame. Let's go to that. Let's quickly check the cables here. What can we reuse? So let's see. So we can definitely use the umbilical cable. Technically, we use the board. Um, XY chains and USB to that. Also works, but I don't know, like I really would try to prevent the chains. Like so much hassle. Here we go. Oh, there's the cable tie. So that's the bed. It's just a standard Prusa mini bed, but I got a clone. Like it's not the original one. Did you see the new LDO stealth changer kits? I did not yet. I was kind of like super busy the last 2 weeks. Everything kind of like flew past me. But stealth changer kits kind of sound interesting. I mean, for this machine, at some point, I'm still looking into like a tool changer setup, but I'm still not sure if it will be stealth changer or something else. There's quite a lot of hardware here. Oh yeah, here it's like a prime example. Like now you can see it, right? Like these two basically still allow like rotation, and like they are like relatively like safe. Like I mean, here for example in front, right? Here it's like they don't rotate in front, but you can still push them out. So it's yeah, difficult with the rods. I think what would have helped a lot is like if you like flatten them completely down on one side, but then like you need to do that manually. It's also like quite a lot of hassle. Could even use a stepper wire if you are willing to recrimp and use the onboard USB. I'm not sure if a stepper wire would use for USB would work for USB. USB is quite iffy with like interference and shit like that. For very short distance, it could work. Like me busy for the whole summer, yeah. It's really horrible at the moment. Like I have so much stuff to do. You also see me like or not sure if you noticed, but I'm a little bit less on the Discord the last like 2-3 weeks. Because I'm just like really busy. Like the little devil moved in 2 weeks ago. That added like a lot of workload in the beginning. Like needs to groove in everything. And also in work, like we are finishing up a project, so which is like mental stress or mental load. Just like quite a busy time. Will be different again in a couple of weeks. But yeah, so I'm not quite sure yet what the next project will be on the channel. I mean, the V0 we can work on, of course. But I was kind of like the V2.4 we can work on. But I was kind of like low-key considering if we rebuild the V0. Because the V0 is like in a very not a bad state. Like mechanically everything works. But like we made so many like changes over time that like I feel like it's a very messy machine by now. And I also want to add like a couple of mods. So I was kind of like thinking whether it's worth it to just like yeah rebuild, like take it apart and rebuild the entire V0 from scratch. Because also now having the 2.4, I don't need it up and running the entire time because I can also print ABS parts on the 2.4. So it might be like a nice little project. Yeah, like I'm throwing out like a lot of heatset inserts. But yeah, it's just like not worth the time like going through there and like getting out every single heatset insert. It's like so much effort. Maybe I also don't have the right technique to get them out, but I'm quite slow with that. How to do what when nothing breaks, yeah. No, I think like the V0 is like, for example, we never fixed up the bad LED and stuff like that. So it's like just like in a bit of a poor state in that sense. But it's also like there's like a lot of like things. Like for example, we added the filament sensor at some point, but it doesn't work and I don't use it, so I'd like to remove it. And like stuff like that. I also want to switch out the tool head to have like a different extruder. Because I'm still on the mini stealth burner. So potentially having like a different tool head would be very nice. I also want to update the skirts. And I want to add a head extension. And it's quite a lot of like things at this point. Like I'm wondering whether it's just not worth it to just like rebuild it, because also like some of the ABS parts I noticed are getting trouble, or like starting to have trouble, because I printed them like open air on the ender. The ABS parts are not the strongest. You already had the XY joint fail. So yeah, might just be worth it, like replacing it with new parts. That will be fun tomorrow, sorting all the hardware. Great Dragon Burner with cat ears. The Loki edition. Yeah, on the V0. Like, but I also wonder if I use a different accent color than the red, because I'm kind of like done with the reds, to be honest. I still have the green, like the poison green. I kind of want to use, and I was either like on the Satsuma or on the V0. That would be the thing. Like technically, we can start this Satsuma project with all the parts I'm taking now apart, or we do the V0. One of the two. I'll need to see. But I think for the next, I don't know, like 2 weeks most likely, we will do a little bit more 2.4, because we have to add the camera at least. And there were like a couple more things I wanted to add. Where did I put the bat? Oh, put it up there. Okay. Last section. The That's why. I mean, in general, like it works well. Like it works smooth. Also, I want to show like with these extended parts and like the glue here, like the tool is now really stable. Like this is as much flex as I have on the V0. So it's quite okay. But yeah, not good enough. Let's actually start with the tool head. I will leave the tool head in one piece, I think. Now let's take it apart. Let's do the tool head last. I really hope that the belts are long enough that I can use it on the Satsuma, but I think they're like just too short. I need to measure in the cut what the belt length is, but I think they're just too short, which is a shame because they're like Gates belts. I will definitely keep them. Like we will have a project where we can use them. Maybe we build a second V0, then these belts will be good enough. We've seen enough War projects. The Satsuma would be different to watch. That's true. That is true. But I think it would be a little bit more like the Ender wire in a certain sense, where like we don't have manual, and we will need to figure out quite a lot of stuff on the fly. Because we only have the cat to go off. But before we can start the Satsuma, I also need to do like a little bit more preparation. I mean, I obviously need to print the files, but also because I only have the cut, I need to export all the print files. So it's a bit more work than like the Boron project. But yeah, for example, like these can be reused. Like all the smooth rods, like the darker ones here, like these we can reuse on the Satsuma. The motors we can reuse, of course. The only thing I had to order, I didn't had to order. I'm fairly certain the belts are too short, like by like 5 centimeters. So I ordered like a fresh batch of belts, and we used here the small bearings. I don't know, the F626 623, and the Satsuma used the 625, like with the 5 millimeter bore. So I ordered like new bearings there. That also was a bit expensive, the bearings, because I don't want to cheap out on bearings. You will have bearings like for a long time, even if you like disassemble the machine. These bearings will go in some other project at some point. So sorry if I haven't said anything in a while, but I've just been watching on the side. No worries, a lot of people watch on the side. That's usually how it goes. You do your thing, I do my thing. Looking at all the filaments and taking whatever I can, listening to you. How does this work? Oh, this is also screwed in from the bottom. Yeah, it will be fun tomorrow. I'll be sitting here watching a movie or something, watching a stream maybe, sorting all the parts. I think like from the screws, like this was like one thing, there are only 3 or 4 types of screws used in this machine. So like for the most part, there are some special cases, for example, for tool heads, but for the most part, it uses the same screws all over the place. 8 millimeters, 12 millimeters, and 20 millimeters, I believe. Rip poor man's Corks, why, yes. I mean, we have our little like remembrance, and it was fun. But yeah, I also need the space. I'll be honest. I'll be honest. Because if we build like a new machine, like there needs to be space for a new machine. Just of course, how much which would be the parts totally cost? Like the parts here for this machine? I think it depends a bit. I would assume at some point I calculated, I think like 250 euros or something. Plus, let's say 300 with filament and everything. But yeah, this is not a good machine. Um, it's a bit cheaper than, let's say, like if you have a V0 or something, because then you also need the extrusions on the panels. And that's something you don't need for this machine. Space like for 600 millimeter. Nope, no space for that. No space for that. Maybe here on the table. But I can't do streams anymore. Also here you can see like how deep the rods were embedded in the top, and on the bottom it was only like a third of that. So I really think that was like part of the problem. my trash bin starts overflowing. Still less than what I would have expected. Yeah, well, it's not like a lot of like super premium parts, to be honest. Like, for example, the hot end is relatively cheap. Like, this is a standard V6 hot end. Like, this is not an expensive hot end. That makes a huge difference. The toilet board is relatively cheap. It's like 15 euros. The main board I use is 20 euros. I think 300 is realistic. But then, yeah, like, if you have, like, for example, if you build, like, let's say, like, you build a V0 or something, which is, like, the cheapest Voron. Just the extrusions will also be, like, 70, 80 euros. The panels will be, like, quite a bit. So these things really add to the price. Also for the V0, they use NEMA 14 steppers. These are NEMA 17, like the standard size, quote unquote. And these are quite a bit cheaper than the NEMA 14s, which also makes the Warren Zero quite expensive. I did have a look while deciding what to buy for my first machine. Well, a Voron is not a good first machine. You should get some experience first before trying to build your own. I think you made a good decision with the Cobra. Could be definitely like a worse machine. Yeah, exactly. It scares you, and like there's a reason for that because like it is quite complicated. Not necessarily putting it together, but if you put it together yourself, like chances are it doesn't work, and then you need to figure out why does it not work, and that's where the trouble starts. So if you have experience with 3D printer and you know how they work roughly, and you have like like already a bit of experience troubleshooting issues, it's you will have much easier time. And you also want to have fun, right? Like it's quite frustrating if you put something like this together, it doesn't work. Ask me. Like I spent quite a lot of time troubleshooting this machine. Um, so yeah, it's also like at some point it's also not fun anymore. It's also like hard why I like stop this project now, right? I spent so much time like off stream basically troubleshooting this machine. Like I was just a bit annoyed now. And it's just like at some point, yeah, I most likely, if I would spend enough time, I would make this machine work. I assume. Well, like there would be like quite a bit of hard changes potentially, but I would make it work. But then it's just like I'd rather do something else. And if I now let it sit for like another year, my motivation will not get any bigger. So that's why it's game over now. It looked pretty cool though. I really like the design I came up with there. Would be nice to see a extrusion printer that you can cut to length, and then clamping system will compensate for non-square ends. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of what I did here, right? Because like all the rods, like, and these are hand cut, and like I cut them like not good. But because you can clamp them, like if they're like a little bit different in length, like you can compensate by just putting them deeper in or a little bit less deep in. That's a cool idea, Steve. Like maybe that would be like for the next one, like an approach. Because also if I make a new design, I will not have like a saw where I can like make precise cuts. Technically, you can order the extrusions, of course, but still. Yes, this is my shelf, the 2.4 shelf. It's the most expensive shelf I have. But actually, like, it's quite nice, like, place to put shit, to be honest. It's just like the 3 millimeter acrylic panel is not super strong, of course. I also need to kind of have stuff on there. Like usually, like during the week now, I had like sticky stuff on top because I don't want Loki to jump on that because then he can jump on top of the cabinets there, and I don't want him to go there yet because there's like still like not open, but there's AC wiring and stuff. I don't want that. And I also see the crazy guy jumping down from there, like onto the windowsill and stuff, and breaking everything. The last part. Now, and this screw can also go to the trash because this one has super glue on it. Maybe 3 millimeter aluminum panel. Yeah, like I really think of like replacing the top panel here. Because eventually he will go on top here, and then this is his step. I totally see this coming. But then my problem is if he jumps down, like this is like 80, 90 centimeters. If he jumps down from here onto the 3 millimeter acrylic panel, like he will break through. And I don't think this will be like a good time for him or for me. So I was thinking of adding like 6 millimeter panel on top, or just adding like an extra cross beam on the inside that like the weight doesn't go to the extrusion but to the panel but to the extrusion. Okay, so this screw is done. So there are two like bearings now inside here. I'm not quite sure how well I will get them out, to be honest. Oh, quite well. Oh yeah, I totally forgot. So I'm not only having like two bearings in here, I had the spacer in the middle. So it's like this. The reason is that like these are like further apart to reduce the rocking motion. Didn't do much. Yeah, that was easy. Like I thought it would be like harder to push out. Also here now in front we have two to prevent the rocking around this axis. But yeah, also that. I mean the tool head was quite stable in the end. Like I don't think that there was a problem. Also the shaper was not horrible. Oh, the shaper on Y was horrible. The shaper on X was great. X had an MZV shaper. Y had a 3-hump EI or something. Like was really bad on Y. Don't ask me why. Oh yeah, also this got like some improvements. So you see the part here goes now around. So before I was just like screwed in from the top, like this. Now the screw goes completely through and grabs it on the bottom. So like you can't pull it away like this anymore. So I made a lot of like small improvements, like a lot of iterations on these parts. But nothing really helped. So you see here like there's like a U shape now. And it's just in the center, and then the screw goes through. Inspection time. I need a bigger trash can, yeah. It's almost at capacity. It is full, let's put it like this. It's in the wrong place. Better here. Very interesting color. Everything can be a toy. Yeah, it doesn't work. Don't walk over the keyboard, please. I'm trying to teach him to not walk over keyboards. I'm semi-successful with this. Let's see. Let's get rid of the cables first. I'm quite hyped about the new EBB. No, what's the partner on this? EBB 36. I'm quite hyped about the new one, like the version 2. It has like all the bells and whistles. Where's the magnets? It's still coming, still coming. I have to print that. No, he's not wearing a necklace yet. Potentially, we might need to go there, but for now he's indoors, so no need. Now he's having fun with the belts. It's incredibly how long it takes to put something together and how fast it is to take it apart. You know what? Let me keep the extruder here together. That's something we might want to have in the exact setup again. AirTag necklace. Yeah, that's actually sometimes quite useful. Like I lost him more than once in my apartment, and my apartment is not big. Nah, come on. Oh yeah, this one has the honey badger fans. I totally forgot about that. So here we have the good honey badger fans. Fun story about the fans. Steve remembers. So I ordered them um, for this build. Like these are way too expensive for this machine. Do you have to? Okay. Um, but then yeah, most likely they will end up in a V0 maybe. The fun story about this is I ordered them. I had like a super messy table and I put the fans somewhere in the mess. And then for the stream, I cleaned up and I just like basically took all the mess that I thought was all trash and like put it in the trash, including the fans. And I only found out like after I trashed everything outside and the trash was collected. So I had to reorder the fans because I just trashed like the brand new unused fans. I was I was deadly annoyed. I was not bothering like getting the magnets out here. Like it's just too much hassle. Yeah, no. Yeah, I was very annoyed. And then I ordered the same ones again. I was like, they're not cheap. The Honey Badger fans are not cheap. Like they're very nice fans, very powerful, but not cheap. Why does this not come out? Here we go. And that's it. That goes on a pile I have to clean up in a second. And the printer is gone. Lots of hardware and a very interested cat. So that was kind of like all there was to do. Like, I have no space for one more printer. um, let's see. So yeah, I think this was kind of like the goal of the stream. So I'm not quite sure what else to do. Besides like admiring this. Yeah, some other stuff in there too, but whole bin of printed parts. So I think that's like 2 kilograms of ABS, which sadly, that's part of prototyping, right? You print stuff. I feel a bit bad about like trashing sometimes, like all the printed parts. Maybe don't play with the brass brush. Um, you print stuff, it doesn't work out. That is prototyping. But yeah, it was a cool project. I think for me personally, I just learned a lot. That was like the one thing I really take apart, like away from that. Is like I learned so much about printers. Like I thought I knew like already a lot about printers, but like trying to design one really teaches you about like a lot of like the mechanics stuff and things. So it was a cool project. I had a lot of fun. Did you find the code for the auto flashing you could show people? No, I did not. I literally did not do anything this week. But that's also my to-do list. So, but I posted on the GitHub, and let me set an alarm for tomorrow. I really need to push the code to GitHub, and I need to publish it on Discord. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll set an alarm that I don't forget. Cool. But yeah, then I would say there was a success, and if the cat now doesn't make chaos, we can enjoy all our weekend. Thanks for tuning in, and see you next week. Bye. Can you wave? Yeah, he also says bye. See you.